Indeed. Joining me in the studio today, retired Marine Colonel Bill Sano, here to talk about veterans benefits, the VA administration, some changes that have taken place. Good morning, Colonel Sano. How are you today?
Good morning, Stephanie. Great to be here.
Hey, great to have you here. As always, I appreciate everything you do for our community, our veterans community in particular, and patriotism in Rim Country. Now, today you're talking about in the veterans benefits, the VA.
Yes, I am. As you well know, as we discussed earlier, last Friday, I believe it was, the representatives from Senator McCain's office and the Veterans Administration came up to Payson and to present a new process that they developed to reduce the backlog of VA claims within the Veterans Administration. And with your help, we got the blast out to everyone in Rim Country about the fact that we were having that meeting. But if you all will recall, Friday was a yucky day. It was cold, it was wet, it was just a miserable day. And when I went to the meeting place, which was over at Messenger's community room, the visitors showed up from the Valley, from Senator McCain's office and from the Veterans Administration. I was there, and it was just a handful of other people that showed up, and that was very unfortunate. But the sparse turnout certainly didn't or was not indicative of the need or the interest in our veterans up here in Payson in the Rim Country. And I explained to the visitors that the few people that were there would sort of be like the 12 disciples. We would absorb what was presented, and we would carry forth. And I promised them that I would explore the possibility of bringing them back up here to Payson to be interviewed by you.
Absolutely.
K-RIM or K-MOG or whichever,
yeah,
because we can reach out to all of northern Arizona with that information. And this information is substantive. We have had, as you know, several meetings of the veterans wherein we had attendance up to 100, 150 people. And we discussed a variety of topics. A lot of those meetings ended up in frustration because people would bring up individual cases which no one was prepared to solve at the moment. But we have made ground in those meetings, if for no other reason than to demonstrate to the Veterans Administration and others that we do have veterans up here and they are interested in their welfare, and the families and the widows of veterans. This particular presentation was substantive in the sense that I believe it's a step in the right direction, and it's going to reduce this backlog of veterans' claims that we currently have.
Now, the veterans claims process is generally running between like 6 months to a year out right now?
More than that, and it's significant. I do not have the statistics. The representatives from the Veterans Administration, if and when they come back up during December, will be able to give you those statistics. But we all know the frustration that veterans face in submitting their claims. There is a tremendous backlog. This is recognized at the highest level, and we're most fortunate in Arizona in the sense that we have two agencies here in our state, the Veterans Administration, which is a federally owned and sponsored organization, and then our own Department of Arizona's Veterans Services, which helps our veterans. And our elected officials, all of them, including Senator McCain, have a very vital interest in reducing that backlog. And I want to talk a little bit about that a little later.
Okay. So what do we need to know right now? What has changed?
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about what I know based on my attendance at that meeting on Friday. And I'm sure we're going to be able to elaborate on that if and when we get the representatives back up here to talk to you and talk to the listening audience.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you that Senator McCain's office has initiated a series of informational forums designed to explain a newly developed claim process which will expedite VA claims. This new process that they have is called the Fully Developed Claims FDC process. And it was created to expedite the claims process for veterans and reduce the present backlog, this significant backlog throughout the whole country. And in the state of Arizona, we're talking the number that was mentioned is over 23,000 claims. We're getting about 400 a month.
I bet.
Don't hold me to those statistics, but the word significant is the operative word. It's there, and it's causing a tremendous amount of frustration amongst our veteran community and their families. Now, Senator McCain's staff, as well as representatives from the Veterans Affairs Regional Office, the VA, and local Veteran Services, VSOs, traveled throughout the state of Arizona to brief veterans and answer questions regarding this new process. Beginning at Lake Havasu, they traveled and visited Prescott, Flagstaff, Cottonwood, and other locations within the state of Arizona, with a final stop at Payson on Friday, the 22nd of November. You know, and as I pointed out, unfortunately, that's the day the weather didn't cooperate with us. It was
it was
a miserable day, and I'm sure that played a major factor in the fewness of number that showed up, but not the interest. The interest was definitely there, and I think that's why I'm here with you this morning to share what knowledge I absorbed from that meeting. Now, as we all know, the VA is swamped with VA claims, not only from veterans from previous wars, but from the newly returning veterans from this recent round of conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. So this new process is designed to expedite VA claims processing, the processing time, and ultimately reduce the vast backlog of claims, and it's already beginning to work, according to the VA. Now, you know, our senator, we're very fortunate to have as our spokesperson in Washington. Politically speaking, some may agree, some may disagree with the politics, but without a doubt, in my opinion, he is the veterans' friend and for the veterans in our state, and has always been so. Any veteran that has a problem has the total right to contact their elected public official for assistance, and Senator McCain has been just absolutely superb in taking care of those requests. Now, Senator McCain, and I'm going to quote what he had to say about this process. He said, quote, "I am pleased that the Veterans Administration has evaluated its procedures and recognizes the need for the fully developed claims process, the FDC as it's called. Furthermore, it will greatly expedite the process for new claims with the goal of processing them within 90 days. Allowing our veterans to receive their benefits in a timely manner. I hope Arizona veterans and their families will take advantage of these informational forums and the new claims process." Now, that's what the senator had to say, and they did. They went around the state and they briefed. Although, in my opinion, although this is not the final answer, the new process is certainly, I believe, a step in the right direction. And I want to talk a little bit about that process to tell you what it is.
Please,
so
definitely.
The Department of Veterans Affairs has assessed the backlog and assessed their procedures, and they quickly noted that part of the past process was to take a veteran's claim, and when it reached a 30-day mark, they just simply sent it back to the veteran for resubmission. And at the 90-day mark, they did the very same thing. And so we had a sort of a round robin of claims that either were not fully developed in the sense that all of the information needed to process the claim wasn't there. It was being bounced like a tennis ball back and forth, and a tremendous amount of frustration. All of the veterans that are out there will be able to identify with what I just said. It's a frustrating experience. So anyway, when they evaluated their system, they came up with a fast and simple, in their opinion, easy way to deal with veterans' claims. Now, what is a fully developed claim, or an FDC? It's the fastest way of getting your compensation of pension claim processed while preserving the quality of service and your right to appeal a decision. Now, why should you file your claim under FDC, or the fully developed procedure program? It was designed to complete claims within 90 days, and the VA's experience thus far is they're turning around these current submissions in 81 days, which is, compared to the past, phenomenal. Every veteran that takes advantage of the FDC process will need to know what evidence is needed to substantiate your claim up front. You just gather the required evidence for your claim and submit it all at once, and that's the key. The traditional claims process, you submit a form, and if it was said once in that meeting, it was said several times that, like everything else, you need to get a copy of that form, read every word, every letter, all the way down to the little portion at the bottom of the form that says, this is Form 44.29 and it will expire during such. You've got to read your claim and then go about the business of collecting the information that's needed. That information in VA parlance is called evidence. That evidence is required to substantiate your claim, and if deemed appropriate, a benefit and a percentage of disability, most claims are for disability, will be determined. Generally speaking, the first step in the whole process is to be able to prove to the Veterans Administration that you are indeed a veteran. And the way you do that is your discharge paper or your DD-214 or some document that equates to evidence. That's the first piece of evidence. Then the next step, as far as most veterans are concerned, is to prove service connectability. In other words, that box fell on you in the warehouse when you were driving a forklift on active duty at Fort Bragg, or you were shot in the leg on such and such a date. That was in your medical record. So you get your medical record, you get the statement in your medical record, and you bring that in as, quote, evidence. And that provides the nexus or the bridge that brings you back into the realm of service connectability. You need to prove that your injury that you're suffering from today was connected to an incident that took place while you were in active duty. And sometimes that's very difficult to do, particularly with veterans of the Vietnam and prior years. It's very frustrating for them because, after folks got out of World War II in Korea, they took their uniforms off and they didn't worry about any disabilities. They were young men, they were healthy. They said, hey, I'm going to charge out and do my thing in the world. Well, later in life, these ailments that come up crop up as a result of injuries incurred during active duty now become significant. And to be able to get that evidence, to get that proof, to get that service connectability becomes very, very difficult. In the world of the VA, when you're discharged from any branch of the service, and we'll use today as an example, you have a presumptive period of about, I believe, 4 years to get that claim submitted reasonably. Beyond 4 years, it gets more and more difficult to bridge that gap from ailment or from disability to service connectability.
Don't they have medical records, though?
Now, in the world of today, for this crop of new veterans, they do. And as a matter of fact, most veterans that serve on active duty, but just prior to their discharge, are required to go to a class, sometimes lasting up to a week, to tell them all the things that they need to do to transition in the civilian community. And they are told specifically to get every document that they have in terms of their medical records or any private physician that they've seen. The name of the game here is document, 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 because that becomes proof, which equates to evidence.
Right.
And the new crop of veterans fit right into this fully developed claim process. Unfortunately, all the veterans that are out there, like myself and others from Vietnam and prior years, it gets difficult to find those records. As most know, there was a fire at the Personnel Records office in St. Louis some years ago, and some of those records were forever lost.
Oh, man.
And so how do you do that? Well, you do the best you can to get the evidence from people that you know, commanding officers that you knew, sergeants that you knew.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating ordeal. But as time goes on, things attrit. And we've got to look at the now, at our veterans that are returning now, and veterans of the future. So anyway, it's essential that you gather all the required evidence for your claim and submit it all at once. And I would strongly recommend that, at least to the veterans of today, that you communicate or get in touch with a capable competent, qualified veteran services officer. We have some in the Payson area and in our region, and there are many down in the valley. And, you know, the VA reps, when they come up here, they'll be able to explain to you the role that the veteran services officer plays. Now, what will the VA do for you under this new process? Well, number one, obtain service treatment records and any records identified at a federal facility, such as the VA Medical Center or a vet center. Keep in mind now that the VA provides two basic services. One, they work on the benefits side of the house, where they assess disability claims, and on the other side of the house, they provide medical care. They have access to those records within the VA structure. Any other medical information that you may have while you were on active duty would be kept by Department of Defense, and that's personnel records in St. Louis. So there's basically two sources of information as far as medical records are concerned. But the medical record is essential in, again, crossing that bridge to get from where you are to service connectability. That's the key. Once you can establish service connectability, then you're off and running with your evidence. What else will the VA do? Well, it'll provide a medical examination for you, or get a medical opinion if we determine, the VA, it is necessary to decide your claim. So within the VA structure, they'll assist you with any medical aspect that relates to your current disability. Now, you may submit your own private disability benefits questionnaires with your application, and there's a website that we can go to. I'll leave this handout with you, Stephanie. Anyone that wants to call in, you can provide that to them. Now, when you submit, like anything else, you can either mail or take your application with supporting evidence to the VA regional office down at 3333 North Central Avenue, down in Phoenix, down to the valley, and submit it that way. Or you can contact your veteran service organization or other VA-approved power of attorney to help you complete an FDC claim. We have veteran services officers here in Payson at the American Legion and the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And our contract doctor up here, Dr. Lowe, would be able to help any veteran and give them guidance and advice regarding the submission of any claim that you may have in mind. Or, you know, most people today are computer savvy. They have computers. Or if they don't, they can go to a library or have a friend that has one. And you can go to www.ebenefits.va.gov. And again, if anyone needs to know that address, Stephanie here at the station will be more than happy to provide that to you or anyone that's here. And you just simply click on benefits and it'll begin to give you a wealth of information. So, how do you complete an FDC claim? Well, you select the form that matches the benefit that you're seeking. That's the traditional form from the VA. And you fill that out, and as I said before, it's essential that you read every word on there, and I would suggest you seek the help of a veteran services officer to get that claim submitted completely the first time around. And the VA will guarantee that they're advertising that they will guarantee that this claim will be processed within 90 days. There's a lot of other information that I'm going to leave with Stephanie because she talks about veterans and passes on very important veteran information to our veterans and to families of our veterans and to widows of veterans. Because, you know, as Stephanie and I both agree, knowledge not shared is knowledge lost. And maybe it's just one tidbit of information, such as this fully developed claims processing quirk that the VA has come up with that may solve one veteran or one veteran's family or the widow of a veteran's problem. And if we've done that, we've succeeded in doing what our goal is here. A lot of us veterans have come back from places that we really didn't necessarily want to be, and it's our mission in life to help our mates. And I think that Stephanie and those here at KRIM and KMOG are doing a fantastic job for not only the veterans in Payson, but those in all of northern Arizona are at least within the outreach voice of this radio station. And we hope that we can continue to provide that kind of service.
Well, I sure appreciate everything you do to help the veterans out, sir. We'll definitely keep this information for anyone. If you want, you can always swing by the KRIM Studios. We've got the pamphlets here. KRIM Studios, 500 East Tyler Parkway. If you like the number, you can always give me a call, 468-5746. Once again, you can submit your claim. Log on to eBenefits at ebenefits.va.gov. And big thanks to our local Dr. Lowe for doing what he can for the veterans community, too. Colonel Sano, thank you so much, sir. You have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Stephanie, and everyone out there that's listening, be advised that when we firm up a date for these veterans representatives to come up and talk about more detail on the fully developed claim process and field questions, Stephanie will make that announcement by way of the radio.
I sure will. They're definitely more than welcome on the show here on both stations, sir. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening to 96.3 KRIM.